Now, Nigeria's defense headquarters has denied claims that the military had embarked on reprisal attacks on Okaba community following the killing of troops of the 181 Amphibious Battalion while on a peacekeeping mission. Defense headquarters was reacting to several allegations and videos on the incident. Arise correspondent Ferdinand Duroa reports.
It is more than 48 hours after news broke about the killing of military personnel on a mediatory mission in Okaba community in Delta State, and the military says it has taken no action of reprisal on the community. The statement by the DHQ follows allegations that the military had killed and burnt houses in Okaba community. Director Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, says the armed forces, being a disciplined force that complies with rules of engagement, laws of armed conflict and respect for human rights, would be guided by these provisions. The Nigerian Army has also called for a general condemnation of the killing of the troops in Delta State. Spokesperson of the Nigerian Army, Major General Onyema Nwachukwu, says it is regrettable that the community complicit in this act has resorted to media propaganda rather than engage in a positive effort to fish out the perpetrators. Meanwhile, the DHQ has released pictures of the slain personnel and is calling for the public to resist the temptation of allowing any videos of their killing from going viral so they will not be dishonored. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Lawaja, also has commiserated with the families of the deceased and directed that no stone should be left unturned until the perpetrators of these acts are apprehended and brought to book. Ferdinand Duroha, Arise News.
In the meantime, the military high command on the trail of the killers of 4 officers and 13 soldiers in Delta State has relaxed the siege on Okaba and Okoloba communities, creating an opportunity for the indigents to return to their ancestral homes. This happened as the Delta State Advisory and Peace Building Council condemned the killing, the deadly assault on the soldiers at Okaba, and called on the presidency and the Nigerian Army to open up all access to the affected communities for the uninhibited and safe flow of movement and return by those who fled their homesteads. Security sources who spoke with this day newspaper on Saturday confirmed that the heavy presence of operatives of the Joint Task Force, codenamed Operation Safe Delta, in the affected communities in Ughelli South and Bomadi local government areas of Delta State have been scaled down to create a conducive atmosphere for the people to return. Meanwhile, it's a cry of hunger and starvation for residents of Igbomotoru communities in southern Ijaw Council area of Bayelsa State, as the military continues the manhunt for the killers of 17 soldiers in Okaba, Delta State. Placing the figure of the dead at 50, the people also pleaded with the military to allow food and humanitarian aid into their communities. Correspondent Ovieteme George reports. Well, looks like we don't have Ovieteme George, but still on the violence in the Niger Delta. The headquarters of the Nigeria Police has released the identities of 12 policemen, 6 of whom they said were gruesomely murdered, with 6 others still missing while on a rescue operation in Delta State. The police headquarters also confirmed the arrest of 5 suspects. According to a statement signed by Force Public Relations Officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi, the policemen fell victim to an ambush by armed assailants while undertaking a mission to investigate the disappearance and rescue of 3 of their colleagues in a horror forest, Delta State. For a conversation on these frequent flashpoints of violence in the Niger Delta, as perhaps a symptom of a deeper social malaise, and what form of intervention can be applied to achieve meaningful resolution. I'm now being joined from Yenagoa, the Bayelsa State capital, by Professor Benjamin Okaba, President, Ijaw National Congress. Good to see you again on this day live, Professor Okaba. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ruben.
Well, Prof, can you confirm to us that peace is now returning to the affected communities, Okaba and Okama, and that the people are returning from the forest, and that the military is scaling down, operations in those communities. And that also in Igbomotoru, in Bayelsa State, where you are, that there is an attempt also to make sure that normalcy returns. But generally, what's your take on these developments as president of the Ijaw National Council?
Okay, thank you very much. Generally, just like we've said earlier, the act of the bandits or criminals who gruesomely massacred 17 soldiers of this country is an attack we have condemned randomly. We continue to condemn, and we have also repeatedly called on the federal government and the security agencies to leave no stone unturned in fetching out these persons and let them be dealt with according to the laws of this nation. The second perspective is on the issue of reprisal attacks. Yes, in situations like this, because of the pains, the provocations, etc., there's no doubt about it that there have been some extrajudicial killings, mostly affecting persons that are actually innocent. Because in situations like this, the criminals will do exactly what they want to do. And they are also aware that in no distant time, if they have to wait any time in this thing, they will be attacked. So they will usually flee the communities and allow the vulnerables, the young, the old, to be so affected. And that's actually the situation in Okuama community in Delta State. The reprisals in Igbomotoru, actually, yes, for that I even got a letter from the community complaining and seeking our intervention. In that letter, they stated that over 80 persons were murdered. In fact, they were suspected civilians who were just by the jetty. We were not expecting anything at all, actually. And the next thing, they saw 6 gunboats and thought it was the usual patrols because they have some critical oil facilities in that area. But before they could know what was going on, they had gunshots and several persons were actually gunned down. Now, that was the situation. Talking about the present state of things, well, it is possible that the relative peace is returning, but I can assure you, judging by what our intelligence reported to us, just about 6 hours ago, there's no peace yet. Yes, it is not easy. People are so psychologically battered that I don't think returning back to Okuama or Kuluba or those communities that were actually so affected and terrorized would be a matter of the next 14 days. It might be a gradual process, but for now, describing the situation as peaceful is very far from correct. Very far from correct. That is the truth. For Igbomotoru community, the report we got just some few hours ago, that is today, still indicates that the people are under siege. No access from outside, and those within the community don't have access. Even going across to the Igbomotoru 1, Igbomotoru 2 and Igbomotoru 1 are just opposite communities to one another. You cannot come out of the community. And no food, no water, no telephone services within the area. And so that is the situation. And people are actually starving. There's hunger, there's serious depression, and we even fear serious outbreak of some form of diseases, because the only source of water is the water that flows, and it is actually saturated with a lot of dead bodies. So, and that is the only place they can get water to drink. The people usually depend on this sachet water from that usually brought from Yanagua, but all those boats carrying those essential commodities are not allowed to come near. So if the situation continues like this in the next 48 hours, I think the death toll arising from people that were not immediately tortured or killed will also be on the increase.
Well, Prof,
so that is the situation. For Okoloba, yes.
Prof, see.
So like I was said,
yes.
Yes. Yeah.
In the course of this week, I've spoken to okay, please go ahead.
Yes, what I was trying to say by way of summary is that Okoloba is still under siege. There's no doubt about that from the reports we got. Okuama is under siege. Yes, there could be some form of agreement that the people can now come in. But in practical terms, I don't see anybody, any civilian getting to Okuama in the next 2 weeks. Yes, practically. In the Okoloba, yes, some relief. Akugbene area, some relief, there's no doubt about that. But Igbomotoru is still under serious siege. Yes, that's just the summary.
Well, Prof, I mean, in the last few days, I've spoken to quite a number of people. You know, we have interviewed different persons on our programs on this station. And everybody will come here and say, oh, there's no problem between Ijaw people and Urhobo people. Some of them will say, my mother is Urhobo, my father is Ijaw, my grandmother is this and all that. That we are the same people. We are connected. So what's the cause of the problem? You know, and yet you have this constant conflict. Well, what really is the problem? As president of Ijaw National Council, what are groups like yours, Ijaw National Council, Urhobo Progressive, doing to make sure that, there's unity beyond the bedroom, beyond the other room?
Okay, thank you very much. Incidentally, I just spoke with the president of Urhobo Progress Union, and we are working on peace building. I want to thank the Delta State government for putting in place the Council for peace building at the state level that is doing so much and has done so much in the past, because at some point I was a member of that peace building committee. Yeah, there's actually no problem between Ijaw nation and Urhobo nation, not at all. But we are talking about community, Ijaw communities, one Urhobo community, one Ijaw community that live side by side, that have shared boundaries, that have shared marital affairs, share cooking utensils, cooking utensils, done a lot of things together, have families and uncles, grandfathers and grandparents from one side or the other. But we must understand that conflict is a universal phenomenon. Conflict is everywhere, and land is a major factor. And the issue we're talking about is claims of ownership over one portion of land. And that land, if you go very deeply, is owned by one community and owned by one family, owned by one head, but again within a sphere of a community. Between Okoloba, a family in Okoloba, and another family in Okwagbe. And several attempts have been made over the years to have these things resolved. But what has actually what provoked this kind of action we have seen is a mix of some criminal elements who are actually militants not fighting for the Niger Delta cause, but they have their own political economy they are pursuing, who have given a different interpretation to the very essence. If not, we are told in the past that traditional rulers on both sides made attempts to bring these people together. And at some point, it went beyond our control. And what happened on that fateful day when the police was first of all invited? You know, police, at first, somebody was reported to be beheaded while he was went to farm in Okama. Somebody from Okaba went to farm in Okama. He was beheaded. Police made attempts. Thereafter, the military went on a peace mission because another person had actually died. And from the reports we also got, they've lost few people along the line, and that was the intervention. Now, talking about what role should social cultural organizations play. As a matter of fact, we have, even amongst the ethnic nationalities in Delta State and Niger Delta, a conference of president generals, and we discussed these things. We made several attempts. We are also making so many efforts. There were crisis pause even in Warri, and we intervened and spoke to both communities, and they listened to us, and today there's some relative peace. As I speak to you, on this other side, very close to Patani, two communities have gone to court over the same land matter, and we are making arrangements to withdraw the case from court so that we can talk to both communities. I think we just need to be strengthened and work faster on red flag, when red flags are raised, where there are early warning signals. Early warning signals, the social cultural organizations need to come together and speak to both parties to see the reason for peace. And at this point, I think the local government areas also have major role to play as the organ of government, the arm of government, that is closest to the people. There should be a conflict resolution department of every local government area that should be monitoring the activities of individual communities within their spheres of influence. And should there be any report or rumor of some form of conflict, they should swing into action immediately. And I think most of these things, if dealt with smartly, proactively, they will not snowball into the kind of crisis we are facing today. That's my take.
Well, Prof, I mean, President Tinubu has directed the military headquarters, defense headquarters, to investigate and try to get to the root of this problem and bring those who committed crimes to justice. Now, has there been any attempt by the defense headquarters or government, federal government, to link up with the socio-cultural unions like yours to see how you can help? Because we've been told assets of the Nigerian state, that's weapons, held by the soldiers, have been taken away. We are told in the papers today that the composed hearts of the slain 17 soldiers, now they are discovering them. Has anybody approached the socio-cultural, communities like yours to say, how can you help? Or, they're just ignoring you in the matter?
We are not even waiting for any call. We see it as a duty and a responsibility, maybe also an obligation to this nation, to help in fetching out these persons. And we are doing just our very best. These are not issues you discuss in the public, but I can assure you that we're in partnership with the relevant security agencies to seek ways of, first and foremost, the bodies of those brutalized soldiers are recovered, Then secondly, whatever that need to be done to make sure that the criminals are brought to book. We are doing our very best. Like I said, we don't even need any call from anywhere. But we are talking to quite a number of people. When we are asked to answer a few questions, we do answer them. But these are security issues. So we like to keep them very close to our chest.
Prof, I mean, last week we were told 17 soldiers were killed. Now, you know, in the last 48 hours, even the Nigerian police force has come forward to say 6 soldiers were killed, ambushed, killed in a horror community in Delta State, and that 6 other policemen are missing. You said, okay, it's about land, it's about land. Why is, you know, the Niger Delta so unsafe for uniformed men? Soldiers go there, they get killed. Policemen get there, they get ambushed, they get killed. 6 others cannot be accounted for. Is it just about land, or is there something else? Because some people say this is also about oil, and it is tied to oil theft. How can we solve this problem? Because the Niger Delta should not become a Bermuda Triangle for uniformed men.
I think the Oro issue is quite different. Yes, Oro, that Oro area, I think it has something associated with armed bandits who over the years have held the Oro community and nearby Agudaba and a few other communities at that area. They held them hostage. They are more very, very characteristics of S-men, kidnappers, hiding in the forest and coming out to launch a guerrilla attack on unsuspecting travelers and so on. I think that is that situation. And at some point, the community members had to pay some forms of money to be able to access their farmlands. So it's the same issue of farmlands, yes, but this time around being grabbed by persons that came with their cattle to graze, but not living within the communities. They just go in and just attack people. At some point, they leave off whatever they're doing and come to the Bomondi Oro Road, the only road that links the Oro Junction to Bomondi town. You know, they come off the road. We had cases where a teacher in Patani or Drofori was returning home. They got him molested. Just by the grace of God, he survived. They have killed so many Ijaw people on that road. I'm sure the police got some intelligence report and they were going on the rescue to rescue, and maybe for that reason of performing this responsibility, these policemen maybe got adopted, and others went on the parade to rescue them, and they just found them to this day. So the Oro situation is a little bit different. This one is community, 2 communities. Kwama, Kuluba, yes, 2 communities around the area, but the Oro situation is invasion of their forests by some foreign elements. Foreign enemy cattle rustlers, kidnappers who are not Niger Deltans at all. That has been a security concern to us. And as a matter of fact, as the Ijaw National Congress, we have sent memos to all our traditional rulers to get back to our traditional ways of handling stranger elements. So I think those efforts are coming up, and with the setting up of community vigilantes, we'll be able to get this up. Now, the question you asked as to where the Niger Delta is unsafe, there's no way that it's safe in this country anyway, but that is the truth. But that these pockets of very disturbing situations have actually given us a very bad name in recent times. But I want to assure you that the different governments of the Niger Delta and the ethnic nationalities and many other persons that are concerned are working. We have seen it as an emergency that must be dealt with immediately, because the region needs peace. We need tranquility, and that is the only way we can get development. That is what we have told ourselves. We have told us, before now, this is a region that was known for militancy, but we have just seen we have shifted paradigm from militancy to constructive engagement, because we have discovered too, after some retrospection, that is easier to engage, and that is why you hear less of bombardment of oil pipelines, destruction of facilities by indigenous of the region. So I think we need to do a separation between what happened in Oro and what actually happened in Okaba and all that. And that again, does not paint a good picture or a total picture of the atmosphere in the region. There's relative peace, there's no doubt about it.
Well, on that note, I would like to thank you very much, Professor Okaba, for joining us on This Is Live, the Sunday Talk Show.